So today what I'm going to show you is a delicious Greek bread, and it's called Tsoureki, or it's also called Vasilopita. So you can name it whatever you want, but it's a Greek sweet bread, and you traditionally make it during holidays. And I'm going to show you how I have made this recipe. Originally, this recipe has a lot of eggs and a lot of butter, and we've eliminated all that, and it tastes just as good without all that unnecessary fat. So let me show you what ingredients we're using. And it's very similar to a cinnamon bread that I've made, and I'll put a link to that below so you can see that. Very basic ingredients. You're going to need flour, and I'll have all the measurements in the link below in the little description box. You're going to need flour, yeast, salt, sugar. Now I'm using half a cup of sugar. If you want your Greek bread sweet, then just add more. This is more of like an in-between sweet and not sweet. You're going to need some milk, and I really like baking with this milk because it's really thick and creamy, and it's the organic original. And then the main ingredient is called Mahlebi. In Greek it's called Mahlebi, in Arabic it's called Mahleb, and you can find this herb, spice, it's a nut, and they grind it up, and that's what's going to give it this distinct flavor that the Greek bread has. And you can find it in a Middle Eastern bakery, and I'll try and put some links below in the description box, but you're going to need some of that. And then on top, once you're done with your bread, just things that you want to sprinkle on top. There's black sesames, you can have just plain sesames, and I use this organic raw sesames. I just reuse the container. And then almonds, which is very traditional almonds. And then lastly, to brush on top to give that shiny eggy look, we're going to use some garbanzo bean flour. Garbanzo bean juice from the can. And I'm going to show you, I've done it with the garbanzo bean juice, and I've done it with just milk. So I'm going to do half with the milk and half with the garbanzo bean juice so you can see the difference. And that's it. Those are the ingredients. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is mix our dry ingredients, and it's just flour basically. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hook it up to our mixer, and I'm using this one here. You can do this by hand, it'll just take a while. And what I've got here is, forgot to mention, you're going to need half a cup of water as well. And what I usually do is I boil the water, and then I add my other wet ingredients. So we're going to add to the hot water here, we're going to add the milk to this, and we're also going to add the sugar, and we're going to add the salt. And then I'm just going to mix that around. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my yeast. You can add it to the milk, you can add it to the flour, whatever you want. Now some people just let it sit for a little bit. I don't do that. I just dump it in. So we're going to just put it in here all together. This is nice and easy. And then we're going to mix it till it's really smooth. That'll take about 5 minutes. Okay, so now that everything is kind of mixed together, it's been mixing for about 1.5 minutes. I'm going to slowly mix in my mahleb. And I'm going to mix this for another 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes, and this is what it should look like in your mixing. Nothing is stuck to the sides. So we're going to turn it off, and what I like to do is I have wet hands, just wet hand, and I'll just take off the dough from the hook. And we're going to put it in a larger bowl so it can have lots of room to rise. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover it with a shower cap like this and just let it sit for about 2 hours, and then we'll come back. Okay, so now it's been a couple hours, about 2.5 hours or so, and this is how our dough has doubled. I've kind of made a mess on my shower cap, but that's okay. It'll just come off. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the traditional braid. Now you don't have to do this. You can just do one big circle. You can do little braids. It just depends on what shape you want, what you want to do. Another thing is you can put this in the fridge, and you don't have to use the whole thing now. You can do little ones and have them whenever you want. So I'm just going to roll it out, and I'm just going to cut it into 3, just eyeballing it. And then I'm going to make these into long. Okay, so now I'm going to connect my 3 little long bread thingies, whatever you want to call them, and I'm going to braid them. And you want to do a pretty tight braid. So I'm just going to braid them. And once again, you can make this as long, as big, as little as you want. It does not have to be perfect. Okay. So, it's done. Now I'm going to put it on a very long, large baking pan. I'm just going to pick it up like a baby. Just place it right there. Just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover it with a paper towel or just a cloth and let it sit for about 40 minutes. So we'll come back in 40 minutes. So it's been about 35 minutes, and we're going to uncover. Wow. And you're going to see I had to curve it because it was just too big for the pan. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just some of the soy milk on half of the bread, and then the other half I'm going to use the water from the garbanzo bean can. And we're going to just do this with half, and then we're going to sprinkle all of our goodies on top. Now the garbanzo bean water is an egg replacer. So it will give you that shiny look, and it doesn't taste, you don't taste the garbanzo beans when it's cooked. And I'm just going to sprinkle some almonds and some sesame seeds. And we're going to place this in a preheated 350-degree oven for between 35 and 45 minutes. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes, and oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. It smells delicious, and as you can see, there is no difference between the milk and the garbanzo bean. Maybe the garbanzo bean's a little bit browner and shinier, and the milk is whiter. But this is it. I hope you enjoy your Vasilopita. So now we're going to cut into this delicious tsoureki, and this is absolutely delicious to eat for lunch, sandwiches, toast in the morning, or just with a little peanut butter. That's my favorite, just with peanut butter. And I'm going to show you. It's moist and delicious and fat-free. Thanks for watching.